Welcome to today's message, where we explore a powerful moment from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, verses 38 through 42. It's a scene charged with emotion, desperation, and ultimately, divine power. This is the story of Jairus' daughter and the unwavering impact of faith. Mark 5, 38 to 42. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion, with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead but asleep." But they laughed at him. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. What we witness here is not just a miracle, it's a confrontation between fear and faith, between death and divine life. When Jesus arrives, the house is filled with noise, crying, confusion, and grief. And yet, in the midst of all that chaos, Jesus speaks clarity. She is not dead, but asleep. How often do we allow the noise of the world, our fears, our failures, the voices of doubt, to drown out the words of life that Christ speaks? The world says impossible, but Jesus says, get up. Notice something important. Jesus doesn't perform the miracle in front of the crowd. He puts them out. Only Jairus, his wife, and a few close disciples are allowed in the room. Faith doesn't need an audience. In fact, sometimes faith requires that we shut the door on voices of unbelief. God does his most intimate, transformative work in the quiet, with those who trust him most. In that time, touching a dead body was considered unclean. But Jesus isn't afraid of what frightens us. He takes the girl by the hand and says, "Talitha cum," a phrase so tender, it's like a father waking a sleeping child. This is how Jesus addresses our darkest moments, not with condemnation, but with compassion. Not with distance, but with a hand that reaches into our death and raises us to life. Where in your life does it feel like all hope is lost? Where do you hear the voices saying, "It's too late"? Let this story remind you, it's not over until Jesus says it's over. The same Jesus who raised Jairus' daughter still speaks to us today. He still walks into our chaos, silences the noise, and calls us to rise. So today, will you let faith be greater than fear? Will you believe even when others laugh in disbelief? Because when faith meets Jesus, dead things live again. Thank you for joining us in this reflection on the impact of faith. If this message encouraged you, share it with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late for God to move. Until next time, walk in faith, live in hope, and keep your eyes on Jesus.